The United States has been a pioneer in aviation and new aircraft design since the Wright brothers first took flight in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina in 1903. Some of the most iconic aircraft have been the product of American visionaries such as Howard Hughes, Kelly Johnson, and Jack Northrop. The constant advancement in technology to meet the needs of both the military and the commercial aviation market results in aircraft becoming outdated and obsolete. When this happens, the aircraft are sold, scrapped, or stored in case the need ever arises for it to be refurbished and reused, or if parts are needed to keep other aircraft serviceable. When the aircraft is no longer needed, it is sent to a holding facility, a graveyard if you will. The largest of these graveyards and most famous is located in the desert just outside Tucson, Arizona. The Davis-Monthan Air Force Boneyard is not just a storage facility for retired aircraft, but a place where history comes to rest and is preserved for future generations. With over 3,000 planes, the Boneyard is like a city of aircraft with its own roads, runways, and maintenance facilities. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the Boneyard is its historical significance, housing iconic aircraft that have played crucial roles in military operations and technological advancements. But how did the Boneyard come to be? Why is it so crucial to maintain it? And what's the story behind the aircraft that have been laid to rest there? I'm your host, Dennis Gill, and in this episode of Revealing History, we take a deep dive into the history of the largest and most famous boneyard in the world and the aircraft that reside there. Let's get started. Located in Tucson, Arizona, the Davis-Monthan Air Force Boneyard is not the only storage and parts reclamation facility in the world, but it is the largest and probably most famous. It's the last American facility of its kind. Operated by the Air Force's 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group, it covers an area of approximately 2,600 acres and houses over 3,000 planes and has the capability to be expanded to meet the needs of the military. Walking through the rows of aircraft, it's hard not to be awed by the sheer scale of the operation. But the Boneyard is not just a storage facility. It's a place where planes are preserved for cannibalization or for possible reuse. Parts from these retired aircraft can be used to repair and maintain active planes, saving costs and resources. It's like a giant airplane parts store with everything from engines to avionics available to reuse. The Boneyard was established in 1946 because the military needed a place to store some of its bombers and transports after World War II. The location of the Boneyard in Tucson was chosen for its dry desert air and low humidity, which helps naturally preserve the aircraft. The area's meager rainfall and hard alkaline soil also contribute to the preservation process. The ground is also stable enough to support the weight of various aircraft, eliminating the need to have it paved. By the beginning of June 1946, 600 plus B-29 Superfortresses had been moved to the Boneyard along with 200 C-47 Skytrains. Of the B-29s to be taken to the desert, perhaps the two most famous spent time there. The Enola Gay and Boxcar, the two planes that dropped atomic bombs on Japan to end World War II. Both aircraft, along with 30 others, have found their way into museums. Some of the B-29s and C-47 Skytrains would eventually be called back into service during the Korean War. In 1965, the Navy closed their facility near Phoenix and moved their aircraft to Davis-Monthan. Over the years, the Boneyard has grown to be the largest in the world, and not only stores military aircraft from all service branches, but also vehicles belonging to NASA, prototypes that never saw service, commercial aircraft, and serves as the Air Force's missile storage and maintenance facility, storing many decommissioned ICBMs. The facility has played an important role in the verification of these ICBMs under the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. It also converts old aircraft, such as the F-4 Phantom and the F-16 Fighting Falcon, into aerial target drones, and it serves as an auxiliary facility for the National Museum of the Air Force, which is located at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. The Davis-Monthan Air Force Boneyard covers an area of approximately 2,600 acres, making it the largest aircraft boneyard in the world. Now, while the exact number of aircraft stored there is unknown, it is more than 3,000, with some estimates taking the figure north of 4,000. In 1973, during the wind-down of the Vietnam War, the military housed as many as 6,000 aircraft at the facility. When an aircraft reaches the end of its operational life, or it is no longer needed, it goes through a decommissioning process and is transported to the boneyard using a variety of methods, such as flying the aircraft to the facility or transporting it by truck. Once there, the aircraft's maintenance records are reviewed, and then begins the removal of any sensitive or classified equipment, such as the guns, ejection seat charges, clocks, and data plates. The retired aircraft is given a special wash to remove any salt that can result in the deterioration of its metal structures and parts. The fuel tanks are drained and filled with a special type of oil that is itself drained, leaving behind a film designed to protect the inside of the aircraft's fuel system. The inside of the plane is then sealed off from the outside air and elements, and a special vinyl coating is applied to the windows to prevent any damage from the sun. The aircraft is then taken to its designated area for storage. They are organized in rows, with each row containing planes of a similar type. If the aircraft is slated to be scrapped, it may be stacked on top of others awaiting the same fate. The aircraft stored at the boneyard are organized by type. Type 1000 means it will be stored there long term with the potential for returning to flying status. No parts are removed from them and they go through the preservation process every 4 years. The next type is Type 1500, which are aircraft that have been previously preserved. Type 2000 are aircraft that are stored only for parts and will never be flown again. In many instances, the boneyard is the only place on Earth where certain parts can be found to be used to maintain other aircraft. Type 3000 are aircraft that have been placed on a flying hold and are kept in near flyable condition. These aircraft are for short-term storage, waiting to be transferred to another unit or sold to an allied nation. Some of these type of aircraft are waiting to be classified as one type or another. And lastly, Type 4000. These aircraft are no longer needed by the military and have been gutted with any and all usable parts being taken. They are then broken down for scrap and recycled. While generally a rare occurrence, there have been instances when planes have been brought out of storage and returned to flight status. In May 2019, the Davis-Monthan Air Force Boneyard restored a B-52 bomber to active duty service after more than a decade in storage. This was a significant achievement as it marked the second time a Stratofortress returned to service from the boneyard. Probably the most famous airplanes to spend time at the boneyard were the Enola Gay and Boxcar, the B-29s that ended World War II by delivering the atomic bombs to Japan. Each only spent a short time at the facility before becoming museum pieces. The Enola Gay is currently at the Smithsonian's Udvar-Hazy Center in Chantilly, while Boxcar is at the Air Force Museum in Ohio. In recent history, 2 other historic aircraft types have made their way to the boneyard. In September of 2021, the boneyard received the last of the 17 retired B-1 bombers from Edwards Air Force Base in California. These bombers were sent to the boneyard as the Air Force prepared for the introduction of the B-21 Raider. Some B-1s will remain in service for another decade. In April of 2023, the Air Force began to retire its entire fleet of A-10 Thunderbolt IIs, affectionately referred to as the Warthog. A-10s from Moody Air Force Base in Georgia began arriving at the boneyard on April 5th as part of a group of 21 that will be retired by the end of September. By 2030, the Air Force hopes to have its entire fleet of A-10s retired. While it is sad to see some of these iconic and groundbreaking airframes sent to the desert to be decommissioned, it's a part of progress and the advancement of technology. The old is replaced by the new. Probably those affected most by this are the pilots who flew them and the maintainers who kept them in the air. These are the men and women who have grown an attachment to their aircraft. They become like family. Some even leave notes for the airmen at Davis-Monthan, like the one found in a B-52. It reads, "This is L0034, a cold warrior that stood sentinel over America from the darkest days of the Cold War to the global fight against terror. Take good care of her until we need her again." In addition to its functioning as a storage and maintenance facility, the Boneyard at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base has been home to some Hollywood productions. Parts of Harley-Davidson and the Marlboro Man were filmed there, as well as Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, Can't Buy Me Love, The Gauntlet, and the television show X-Files. The Pima Air and Space Museum is also located near Davis-Monthan and is the home to over 350 aircraft, including military and civilian planes, helicopters, and spacecraft. The museum even at one time offered bus tours to the Boneyard, but this has since ended due to changes in Air Force security considerations. The Davis-Monthan Air Force Boneyard is not just a storage facility, but also a repository of aviation history. It houses iconic aircraft that have played crucial roles in military operations and technological advancements. Some of these aircrafts are on display in museums, while others are awaiting to be preserved or reused. Walking through the Boneyard is like taking a trip through time, with planes from every era of aviation history. It's a reminder of the sacrifices that have been made to keep our country safe and the incredible technological advancements that have been made in the field of aviation. The men and women who work there are some of the best at what they do, and their dedication to the mission reflects great credit upon the United States Air Force and the United States of America. To unlock more of history's secrets, click the screen right now to find out how the space shuttles got their names. And to never miss an episode, please subscribe and like this video. Until next time, I'm Dennis Gill for Revealing History.